What is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, we're going to be going down every defense item in the game and tell you guys when I would build the item and if I think it's a good item in its current spot. 10.6 right now, the big tank patch, even though we saw no tanks and masters, just full damage assassins and hyper carries, but tank patch. We'll just be talking about all of them. Do I think it's good? Do I think it's bad? When do I build it? Stuff like that. If you guys have any questions at the end of it, leave your comment below. Say, why not this item? Or if you're curious about Chronos Pendant, I think a lot of but just base power items are in a really bad spot. I think Chronos Pendant is the only one that I would consider, along with Divine Rune, as items that don't have any sort of defensive capabilities like physical defense, magical defense, health, HP 5, CCR. Starting with Wingblade. I'd build Wingblade when I don't want to build Sprint, but they have enough slows that if I do get slowed, I'll get locked down and I will get killed. So if I'm playing something like Ymir and they're going bonk, wild, RDO, Nem, like maybe I slide in a Wingblade there. But if they have too many slows, Sprint is probably just better, and then maybe even Sprint Wingblade if I need to. Relic Dagger. I build Relic Dagger when I just need my relics more than anything else. Right now, relics are actually in a really strong spot, so Relic Dagger has a lot of value, especially in the third or second slot, but that's a lot of time I look for it. Cannoneers. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm building Cannoneers. The only time I would really build it is if I die in lane or if I back in lane with 2,000 gold or like just enough gold to buy this and not enough to buy Thebes. I'll sometimes buy Cannoneers just because pacing of the game matters and getting back out to lane quick matters. So sometimes I'll buy the Cannoneers. Lotus Sickle, I think, is only good if you're playing a backline support who heals while the enemy has gods that are diving of both physical and magical. If there's only physical, build Sov. If there's only magical, build Heartward. If there's both, I think Lotus is fine there. And Sov, I just stated, if you're playing a backline support, except without healing, and they have a lot of physical damage on the dive, Sov is good. Heartward, if they have a lot of magical on the dive, and you're not a healer, and Heartward's good there. I don't think I'm ever building Oni Hunter's Garb in support. I think this is mostly a soul lane-oriented item. Sonagaya. I think Sonagaya has a lot of value as either a second or a sixth item. If your team doesn't have a ton of healing and they have a lot of knockups, Thebes into Gaia is really, really good for survivability. And then if you're 5 items deep with your starter finished and you're a little short on health and they have a lot of poke, I also think Gaia is really sick right there. Those are the 2 spots I would build Gaia. Magi's pretty obvious. If they only have a couple ways to actually kill your team and it's relying on like a lockdown under that one person. So if they're Circuit support, Najah support or something like that, and their only way is to really walk at you and CC you to kill you, Magi's can have a lot of value. I also think the glyphs for Magi's, I think the glyphs are okay. But the problem is Relic Dagger's glyphs and Pridwin's glyphs are just better. Talisman, I don't think I'm ever building Talisman. Maybe if I want to have fun, maybe. And I want some movement speed, maybe. Phalanx, I don't think I'm ever building in support. Better options. Genji's, this one is rare, but there is some times where the cooldown reset can be really helpful for like getting in, taking the proc, and then getting out. Like Sobek, if you pluck in, your pluck goes on cooldown, you take a Genji's proc, you ult, your pluck will be up faster, so you can then pluck back out. I think that is a scenario I'd build it, but other than that, pretty rare. Mill of Renewal, again, I think it's just such a weak item in comparison to Thebes, and I don't think I'd ever want to build it second. I guess maybe in the scenario where Gaia's good second, where they have, or you have not a lot of healing on your team, so if you build this, you're maybe unkillable. Maybe that scenario. The only other scenario is if I die, or I back with enough gold to buy Mail, but not enough to buy Thebes. But even then, I think I would just buy Cannoneers and then get some wards. Shoguns. What do you do when you, or what do you, your team, you have on your team, what do you need? Shoguns.
What the f does that mean?
If you want to fight on objectives and you have hunters, Shoguns is good. Absolution. If they have an obvious CC that you can cleanse, Absolution is really good. Something like Daji, Ares, even Xingqian Serb. Mostly Guardians, but some other gods can maybe be obvious. But those are the biggest ones. Breastplate of Regrowth, Hercules, and maybe Horus. I think Horus has other better options, but yeah, Herc. Contagion. Do I need anti-heal? And then they also have a little bit of physical damage. And I'm also going to be playing a little bit more aggressive. If I check 2 out of 3 of those, Contagion has a lot of value. Glide Shield, maybe on Kuzenbo. Other than that, probably not. It's just nice for the cooldown, and then there's just a little extra damage. Emperor's Armor. Honestly, you can build this game or this item every game in ranked, and it will be valuable. So build it in ranked, and it'll be valuable. At some point in the game, somebody's going to be sieging. So there's always eventually going to be value from Emperors. I do think if you're 6 items deep and you're 35 minutes into the game, You could probably sell the Emperors for something else because EFG just makes sieging a whole lot easier, and the Phoenix's damage is not going to be as effective, but it's still just going to have value before then. Fabless Tubes. On Yamoja, and then maybe on something like Hell, I think this item is actually still really good just because all the other magical defense items aren't too good, but that's the only time. Pythags, never. It's bad in support. I do think it's a good mid item, but bad in support. Archdruids. Am I diving the enemy team and I'm going to be kind of using auto attacks in my kit? Like gods like Sobek don't really ever auto attack, so I'm not using it. But I mean, Gilgamesh or Kuzumbo even, if I'm playing dive, I can get some auto attack cancels in. Manticore Spikes. If I'm diving the enemy team, Manticore is always going to have value. As long as I have at least one good CC to proc Manticores, I think Manticores has value. Breastplate, probably never. I think I like Pridwin a lot more than Breastplate right now because of the upgraded Pridwins. Midgard. Do they have an auto attacker that is going to be hitting me a lot? I think if they have a Kali, a Baka, Midgard has a lot of value. Or if they have 2 or 3 auto attackers, Midgard has a lot of value. So in a binding, this has value in every game as long as you have CC. If you're playing Hell, probably not the best item to buy. But if you're playing anything with at least 1, maybe 2 forms of CC, binding has a lot of value. Spectral Armor. Do they have crit? Yes. Still maybe even no. Do they have crit that's going to be hitting you? Then yeah. Like Baka, Mercury are really good spectral armor buyer against it. Like if they're playing those two and they're building into crit, spectral has a lot of value. Unless you're diving a crit god, a lot of the times you don't even need the spectral and you just have like somebody else just kind of getting onto him, whoever has the crit. But spectral can always be good even if they have 1 crit god. Prophetic Cloak, I'll say never because I think it's just not worth the problems with stacking it. Maybe if you're playing something that just stacks it really easily like Kuzumbo, it might be fine. But even then, I think like Thebes or Binding or Manticore is just a better first item. Abyssal Stone. Are they cooldown reliant gods? And that you're going to be diving the backline to actually apply onto them. Gods like Thoth, Uller, Hell, Afro. Gods that rely on cooldown. Abyssal Stone is good into them. Thebes, good every game. Build it first every single game. And you will always look like you know what you're doing. Erosion. Do they have at least 1 shield that can hit multiple people? Shell is like the one where it's like meh, kind of, because Shell's just pretty weak for like the actual shell portion of it. It's like the mitigation and movement speed and then like the water walking, whatever you call it, where you can walk through people. That are like the strengths of it. But if they have like a Yamoja or an E-set, Erosion has a lot of value. Berserkers, never. Pestilence, the opposite side of the coin of Contagion. Pesty is one of the highest magical defense items in the game. Actually, I think it is like the highest, and I don't think it's particularly close. I think this one's 60, but you get more if you go into the upgrade. None of these are 70. So Pesty still has a lot of value in terms of it being the highest magical defense item you can get. I build this when they have a magical hyper carry. So like Freya, Kronos, Olorun, Soul. I think this is really good into them. I also think it's really good into magical mid laners that are healers. Anubis, Echel, Hell, Afro. But if I do need anti-heal and I'm playing against a couple magicals, Pesty has a lot of value there. Spirit's Robe, every game. Do they have a hard CC that they're trying to kill you off of? Kind of the same vein as Magi's. It's just this one is more tankiness for that time that they're going on to you instead of just the immunity that they can bait out. Soul Gem, never. Karen's Coin, never. Last Gasp, never. Pridwin, every game that you're diving the enemy backline and your god can use Pridwin okay even. Like I played a Zhong support game earlier. The ult doesn't even proc Pridwin until it's completely done casting, and it still felt impactful. Pridwin is just really strong, but it's not the base Pridwin. It's these Pridwins that are really good. But yeah, Pridwin nearly every game. Toxic Blade, never. Mystical, never. Heart, never. Staff, never. Gem, I'm going to say never. Because if I want an item kind of like this, I would rather just go Erosion, or if I want like a health and magical power item, E-Staff. E-Staff, any game, E-Staff will feel good. This item is an 8% true damage ability on a 15-second cooldown. 8%. It is crazy. The poke you get from this item, it's insane. This item will work any game that you're not forced to be like a solo frontliner. And even then, it can be okay because you're getting 8% health to yourself and CCR. Tablet of Destiny is never. And then Mantle of Discord. I've came back around to building Mantle and support a little bit more because it's just, you kind of never get capped on protections, so the mantle protections are actually really good. Mantle's probably a most games it'll feel good, and if the game goes late, the stun passive you get from it is actually really nice. But there it is, all the defense items. If you guys have any questions about any of the items specifically, ask away in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See you guys again next time. Peace.